Hello students, so this is the third video of 24th September. We have to continue reading of lesson number 3, planning a surprise. So we have done reading till page number 32. Now we will be starting read page number 33. Well dearies, how have you got on today? There was so much to do, getting the boxes ready to go tomorrow, and that I didn't come home to dinner. Has anyone called? Beth? How is your cold, Meg? Joe, you look tired to death. Come and kiss me, baby. While making these maternal inquiries, Mrs. March got her wet things off, her warm slippers on, and sitting down in the easy chair, drew Emmy to her lap, preparing to enjoy the happiest hour of her busy day. The girls flew about, trying to make things comfortable, each in her own way. Meg arranged the tea table, Joe brought wooden set chairs, dropping, overturning, and chattering everything she touched. Beth trotted to and fro between the parlor and the kitchen, quiet and busy, while Emmy gave directions to everyone as she sat with her hands folded. As they gathered about the table, Mrs. March said with a particularly happy face, I have got a treat for you after supper. A quick, bright smile went round like a streak of sunshine. Beth clapped her hands, regardless of the biscuit she held, and Joe tossed up her napkin, crying, a letter, 3 cheers for father. Yes, a nice long letter. He is well, and he thinks he shall get through the cold season better than we feared. He sends all sorts of loving wishes for Christmas, and a special message for you girls, said Mrs. March, patting her pocket as if she had got a treasure there. I think it was so splendid of father to go as chaplain, and he was too old to be drafted and not strong enough for a soldier, said Meg warmly. Don't wish I could go as a drummer or as a nurse so I could be near him and help him, exclaimed Joe with a groan. It must be very disagreeable to sleep in a tent and eat all sorts of bad tasting things and drink out of a tin mug, sighed Amy. Well, when will he come home, Mommy? Asked Beth with a little quiver in her face. Not for many months, dear, unless he is sick. He will stay and do his work faithfully as long as he can, and we won't ask him for him back a minute sooner than he can be spared. Now come and hear the letter. They all drew to the fire, Mother in a big chair with Beth at her feet, Meg and Amy perched on either arm of the chair, and Joe leaning on the back, where no one could see any sign of emotion if the letter should happen to be touching. Very few letters were written in those hard times, and not that were not touching, especially those, you can turn the page, which fathers sent home. In this one, little was said of the hardships endured, the dangers faced, or the homesickness conquered. It was a cheerful, hopeful letter full of lively description of camp life, marches, and military news. And only at the end did the writer's heart overflow with fatherly love and longing for the little girls at home. Give them all of my dear love and a kiss. Tell them I think of them by day, pray for them by night, and find the best comfort in their affection at all times. A year seems very long to wait before I see them, but remind them that while we wait, we may all work so that these hard days need not be wasted. I know that they will remember all I said to them, that they will be loving children to you, will do their duty faithfully, fight their bosom enemies bravely, and conquer themselves so beautifully that when I come back to them, I may be fonder and prouder than ever of my little woman. Everyone sniffed when they came to that part. Joe wasn't ashamed of the great tear that dropped off the end of her nose, and Emmy never minded the rumpling of her curls as she hid her face on a mother's shoulder and sobbed out, I'm a selfish girl, but I truly try to be better, so he mayn't be disappointed in me by and by. We all will, cried Meg. I think too much of my looks and hate to work, but won't anymore, if I can help it. I'll try and be what he loves to call me, a little woman, and not be rough and wild, but do my duty here instead of wanting to be somewhere else, said Jo, thinking that keeping her temper at home was a much harder task than facing a rebel or two down south. Beth said nothing but wiped away her tears with a blue army sock and began to knit with all her might. So it's the last paragraph of the page. Beth said nothing but wiped away her tears in the blue army sock and began to knit with all her might, losing no time in doing the duty that lay nearest her, while she resolved in her quiet little soul to be all that father hoped to find her when the year brought round the happy coming home. Turn the page now. At 9, they stopped work and sang, as usual, before they went to bed. No one but Beth could get much music out of the old piano, and she had a way of softly touching the yellow keys and making a pleasant accompaniment to the simple songs they sang. Meg had a voice like a flute, and she and her mother led the little choir. Amy Amy chirped like a cricket, and Jo wandered through the airs at her own sweet will. Their mother was a born singer, and first sound in the morning was her voice as she went about the house singing like a lark. And the last sound at night was the same cheery sound, for the girls never grew too old for that familiar lullaby. We'll read about the author also. Lucia May Alcott, 1832 to 1888, was an American novelist who is best known for her novel Little Women and the sequels Little Men and Jo's Boys. Her novels and short stories are mostly for young people and are drawn mainly for her own life. Okay, so this finishes the reading of the chapter. Everyone should practice reading. Why I am doing this only reading of the chapter, so that you have a hand with the pronunciation and fluency of the language, of the English language. मीनिंग्स मैं आपको बाद में भी समझा सकती हूँ, पर रीडिंग इज़ ऑल्सो वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट. वंस only reading has to be done by everyone. Okay, thank you.